Hello, Carl. Again.
Hey, how are you doing? You again? Yes.
I'm
Everything
well.
working good? Yes.
I may be early this time. I'm making up for last time.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. So, you and I are going to talk chronology and operating like a Swiss watch, I believe. So we're going to talk back office, aren't we? And the headline says here, using the latest tech and data to ensure your staff is functioning together efficiently, discovering the latest back of house technology that enables hotel teams to work in real time while focusing on the guests. Now,
Let's go in 15 minutes, Carl.
yeah, fantastic, isn't it? Yeah. And I'm pleased to say you're an Anglophile living in London. You've been all around the world, so you've been there and done all that. So I guess my themes for this discussion are going to be staff and people, because that's obviously a big challenge. How the back office support the operation, and to some extent the adaptability, the implementation of the systems, and then a little bit of future like we did with the other two guys there. So staff and staff safety, communications, HR, records, and the like. How have these kinds of systems developed recently? I imagine they were at a certain point 12 months ago, and now they've accelerated.
Well, there's a bit. Before I start that, let me just make one little point. When I think about what I call the hospitality value chain, right? So anything from pre-booking all the way to post-stay, wherever you are, wherever a provider is, whether it's a service provider, technology product, wherever you are on that, we all have a common customer, and that's the guest, right? If we always focus on the guest, then our goals are always going to be aligned. So everything we do, and that includes staff providing exceptional experiences to staff, but also staff safety, that's always focused on providing an exceptional experience to the guest. And I think that's what you're going to see that's a thread through our conversation today. Now back to your point, I think that there are a couple of things that I can talk about when we talk about staff safety. And one is, just individuals. So you have unfortunate situations where, you may need housekeeping to have an emergency call button. So when the housekeeper's in the room, there's something that goes awry and need to quickly do that. So, we have that functionality in our systems to be able to quickly call security or alert where there's something that isn't quite right, and the housekeeper, the individual, needs help. So that's one piece on the smaller part. But the pandemic has really highlighted something else, and it's this idea of group safety, right? And so if you think about, the days when you'd have the change of shift and the GM's meeting, inside a little, the smallest space that's not used by guests in the hotel, you just can't do that anymore. You're placing your staff at risk. And you place your staff at risk, then you place your guests at risk too. So what we've done, and what you see across the industry, is a real increase in the use of mobility and electronic communication. So you can share the vital information that you would usually need at shift change across the organization. Now, instead, you can share that digitally. Everyone has a tablet. Mobility is important because from a guest experience point of view, you're taking the service to the guest instead of asking the guest to come to the service, but you're doing that by enabling the staff through that mobility and through that communication to do that, and do that safely.
And so I think the housekeeping was an interesting example there. But so these systems are designed to enable teams to work in real time and then focus more on the guests that are right in front of them with a small part of technology, for example, not a big old iPad that, they can almost topple over if that makes sense.
I mean, when you talk about a tablet, it depends on how big you want to get on the tablet. It's not the big stone tablets, but it's something that provides all the information you can show to the guest, and really be able to convey the information. An iPhone, sure, great way to, or a mobile phone, a great way to communicate perhaps with staff, but it's sort of a balance, happy medium for the media, if you will.
Exactly, and I guess you can put all those little items about the menu on it without the specials, without the member of staff having to read them off a blackboard and stuff like that.
Exactly. It's sharing information, right, between the back of house and the front of house, and making sure that it's all integrated. Everybody has the same information at their fingertips, because you never know when a guest is going to ask a member of staff a question that maybe that person wouldn't normally know. But if it's at their fingertips and they're essentially the ability to get briefed at any time, that's really powerful for staff.
I guess one of the questions about, the Swiss watch in the back office of a hotel, the inevitable question, and we talked with William earlier about asset management and spending money on those back of house items, is proving that ROI on a back of house system, and proving that a back of house system actually adds something to the business, makes it more efficient, adds some support. Can you that process, because I imagine you're asked every day to prove that where the ROI is in back of house?
Absolutely. I think ROI is critical, and for any kind of investment that you're going to make. However, before you even get to that point, I think you really need to ask yourself 3 questions. And the first is, does the technology, does the system solve a current challenge, right? And does it benefit my guests and my staff? And third, I think, is really important in this day and age. Does it future-proof my hotel? Now, I have this concept of technology for technology's sake, right? So
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
You've got a lot of cool stuff out there. You're being bombarded every day, not only from a consumer level, but also, a B2B. We've got the coolest new thing. Look what it does, bells and whistles. But you have to take a step back and say, what's the value to my business, right? What is it? What's the problem that I have right now, the challenge that it's going to solve? Because technology for technology's sake is just academic. Oh, it's cool to read in the business press, but if it doesn't do anything for my business, don't even consider evaluating it. Now you pass those 3 questions, you get yes on each one of them, then yes, you take the next step. So any supplier, anybody that's talking to you, any potential partner is going to be able to provide a value calculator that's going to show exactly the benefits you have, case studies, testimonials from other customers. But really, I think the importance is they're going to listen to you. They're going to understand exactly what your challenges are. They're going to have the expertise and the background to understand exactly how their solution can benefit you, where it can, and really lay it out on a piece of paper. Say, maybe it's a range, but say, worst case, this is the benefit. Best case, this. It's probably somewhere in the middle. But a good partner is going to be able to help you walk you through that, because you got to make that presentation up the ladder, right? CFO or even the board level.
Yeah, exactly. Let me ask you a question I touched on as one of the themes, the adaptability and implementation of the systems. Now, I'm going to ask, if you like, one specific question, which I'm hoping is a straightforward, not a problem. With the Uniform System of Accounts for the Lodging Industry, which my association now owns, which has been out there since 1926, but it's going through regular changes now, and I think there's an update due in the first quarter of next year. Obviously, you provide accounting and back office systems. When that chart changes, or the presentation changes, how flexible are the systems today to be able to adjust reporting and producing things like P&Ls for the CFOs and stuff like that?
This is the long-awaited 12th edition. Is that right?
That's correct. Yes.
Yes. The short answer is it's relatively straightforward. So when you think about financial fiscal compliance, I mean, Oracle Hospitality is part of a much larger organization than Oracle, and that is a top priority, just given the nature of our business, right? But the nature of the different markets that Oracle Hospitality works in, especially across the EMEA region, and it's interesting when we talk about EMEA as a region, because it's not. It's a collection of more than 100 different countries with different practices and regulations. So it's something that's in our DNA, really. So it would be relatively straightforward.
Okay. And the next question, which I think is something that was starting to happen a year ago, and suddenly more of it happening. We're putting in a new system. We're implementing, and I guess it could be front of house as well as back of house. And you used to have to plan your training, and the person who'd been assigned to do all the training and would come to your hotel, and you'd have to arrange meeting rooms and all that stuff. How does implementation work today? Because we've got the cloud, we've got Teams, we've got Zoom, and any other platform you care to mention. How does that work today? How can you get up and running as quick as you can? Because a new system isn't just a new process; it's a new cultural way of doing business, isn't it? So how does this sort of thing work these days?
It is, and in one of my former lives, I was a teacher, so I like that face-to-face instruction. The exchange of information is probably the most efficient way. The pandemic, of course, we were moving in this direction anyway, because like you said, there are certain costs to try to get a number of people in the room. So the pandemic certainly has accelerated that. I mean, we have a series of e-learning modules, so it's self-paced learning. You've got virtual learning, Zoom training. We do a train the trainer for large organizations. Seems to be more efficient if you, or the customer will request this. Excuse me, if you train a sort of super users or the trainers, and then they go out to the organization. So it is the technology is evolving. I mean, there are a few benefits to, or let's call them upsides to what's happened over the last 18 months, and it's the enhancements in video conferencing and sort of the change in behavior and willingness to engage in that, and understanding that exchange of information can still be quite efficient, and you can still do a really good job of doing the types of training that we used to do face to face. Also, you do it at the customer's leisure, if you will. You do it according to their time scale, instead of taking everybody off shift, putting them in a room for however many hours, which is can be incredibly inefficient, but it was just the way it was done.
Okay, so I think look at us, here we are with 500 people meeting online as opposed to all meeting in a nice hotel or a convention center. So, and I think it's become...
When do we get to see all 500? Do we?
Well, exactly, yeah, there's some dots on the scale, yes, exactly. Let's ask you the future question. We've seen, I believe, 3 years worth of digital acceleration in 12 months. And we've talked about one of them with Teams and things like that. How do you see the future of hotel and hospitality technology, primarily in the back office? How do you paint us a few pictures of, and I'm not going to come back and check with you in in 6 months' time. This is what you said. But if you were painting a picture right now of something that's going to change and adapt, or the future, what is your view of that? What's Eric's picture of the future?
Well, Carl, exactly. You're absolutely right. I talked about earlier that this transformation that we've gone through over the last decade is based on these technical changes and guest behavior and expectations. And when I say guest behavior, it's how guests interact with technology. So it's how willing they are to put their lives out into the public, whether it's Facebook, Instagram, other social media, and those two sort of driven that rapid change. You throw the pandemic on it, and it really has created this almost urgency in pushing us forward. I think, and we've been talking about this a lot, when I say we, the industry broadly, for the past few years, but I think that AI and machine learning are going to become incredibly more important. And here's why. If you think about, you need to provide really great guest experiences, and you need to provide really great staff experiences. A lot of what AI and machine learning, I mean, you can think about, the big blockbusters, you think about all the ways that AI and machine learning have been portrayed, but really one of the benefits is it takes these manual repetitive tasks and automates them. And what that does is it not only automates those tasks, but it automates the integration between the front of house and back of house. And so you're making sure that if a request comes in from a guest, for a specific need, it is sent through a system and that need is fulfilled. And that can be done with AI and machine learning because the communication can be with the same system. Now, what that does is it frees up staff to go and focus on higher value activities that actually where they're trying to make the guest experience more exceptional. So whether it's a face-to-face or going out and doing it in a different way. So I really think that AI and machine learning, and one of the things that I think Oracle Hospitality understood with that about the power of that is shown in our recent acquisition of Nor1, because that adds a new powerful AI and machine learning based products, really enables the upsells, the smart upsells pre-arrival and during check-in. I think that William was talking about add-ons, and that's where the AI and machine learning is really going to help with that.
Great. I think, well, you've teed me up fantastically there, Eric, because we've got a discussion with including Thomas coming in a minute on that sort of topic, and also we got a great conversation with Michael from Edwardian about AI and machine learning, and some interesting numbers with that. Eric, thank you very much indeed for your time. Much appreciated. You've given me a really good picture of the back office. Thank you very much indeed. So thank you, Eric.